So I want to make this video because I want to touch upon something this channel will do and what this channel will not do. And please excuse my voice. I am a little under the weather, so please bear with me as I go about this. So there is this YouTube creator known as Atreas who has been making videos, sort of this rage bait videos or whatever you want to call them. I don't know what label we're using this week, in which has created several videos and hasn't really gotten the views that they expected because YouTube algorithm, as you know, is very borked. I've had to deal with it for some time now, where you don't know what they're looking for from day to day. Sometimes you create a video in which you think it's going to get a massive amount of views and it doesn't get anything, and something you never expect would blow up suddenly just goes out of the stratosphere. And YouTube changes it from day to day. They change the rules from day to day. You don't know what is going on. So that's the reason why I separate my content anymore, because that's the way you have to do it. And I wish that YouTube would address this situation and would just tell people what is going on, be more transparent about everything, and just let people be aware so they know what they have to fight and what they got to address instead of being in the dark all the time. However, that's not to say that Atreas has not been polarizing. He certainly has been. And when you're in this whole thing with punditry about games and about social commentary and whatnot, you're always going to have this sort of stigma about you, because we've seen a lot of these types of YouTubers get attacked. We've seen a lot of these people who think they're above the quote-unquote grifting YouTube community, whatever you want to call it. Again, the labels change from day to day. But I know there's quite a few people on X and on YouTube that don't like these people and would wish they were gone. People like Atreas, like Critical Drinker, like Geeks and Gamers, and some of these other people. By the way, I don't know how Clownfish TV fits into all of this. I think they don't belong in the same breath as some of those other people. However, I do know that they are very polarizing, and I do know that just dropping their name, let alone if you try to defend them on any sort of thing, even if you disagree with 99% of what they say, if you agree with even 1% of what they say, you get attacked as well. And I do want to be on the defense about some of those people, because I do believe they do good work. I do believe that some of them do get fairly called out, although some do get unfairly called out as well and get unfairly attacked. Now, as far as this channel is concerned, yes, I do call out some people. I try to punch up. I do try to say, hey, this guy's doing something incorrect, or Nintendo's doing something very incorrect with the pricing of the Switch 2 and all the stuff they've been doing lately, the whole thing with the Power World stuff. Try to attack the people that basically have power to maybe answer to those calls or to get something changed or whatnot. Don't try to go after other YouTubers as much, because yeah, that's something that in a sense causes a lot of drama, causes a lot of problems. And plus, unless they do something extremely abhorrent, like try to false flag somebody, or try to start physical fights with other people, or try to harass other people to the point where they feel like their life or their career is threatened, then that escalates into something maybe somebody needs to talk about. But just to say, hey, we disagree with you on a particular issue, yeah, we'll say, hey, we disagree with you, but you have the right to say that. You have the right to say your views. There are a lot of people that I follow that I don't agree with a whole lot of what they say, but I do agree that they have every right to express their viewpoints on the platform of their choice, as long as it's not quote-unquote fighting words, as long as it's not something that's going to incite other people in order to take action in a physical way or to harass somebody, then they have the right to say that. If they want to say that Alyssa McConte is a whatever it is, then they have the right to say that. If they want to say that Thunderbolts sucks, they have the right to say that, no matter what the reason is. If they want to say that Disney is not the company that they used to be, you may disagree with that, but that doesn't mean that they should be taken off of YouTube or taken off of X. And this channel is not going to do that. As much as I may disagree with something that somebody has said, and as much as I might call out somebody that said something that I might disagree with, it is just a disagreement. It's just a business thing. It is not something that I want to say, oh, hey, you need to be taken off of YouTube. You're a grifter. You need to be taken off of X. You need to be taken off social media. You need to go away. They have every right to say that, and I have every right to not watch the video. I have every right to say, you know what, I don't want to partake in your content until you improve your content. And I have a right to do that just as much as somebody else has a right to engage in that type of content. I know that my content's not for everybody. I know my content's going to make some people upset. I know my viewpoints are not going to be something that everybody's going to agree with, and that's okay. I believe that civil discourse is the way to go. I believe that if you disagree with some of my viewpoints, you are free to comment and say your own viewpoints. I open up the forum. I'm not somebody who's going to ban somebody because they disagree with me. And I'm going to say that right now. I'm not going to ban anybody for disagreeing with me. I am going to say something if you go into vitriol or hateful messaging and whatnot, but that's a whole nother level. That is different from what disagreement is. I have never taken upon myself to ban anybody because they had a disagreement or a different perspective on some of the topics that we discuss. So when I see somebody like Atreas say, I'm taking YouTube hiatus, and I see people celebrating that, I have a problem with it. Because as much as you might disagree with his viewpoints, just as much as you might disagree with things he said, why does he not have the right to say those things? Why does he not have a right to share those viewpoints? And why does he not have the right to have a channel that does well? And that goes for anybody that I may disagree with. And I may have an issue with some of the things that some people have said. However, at the same time, I feel like my viewpoints can be better expressed without saying, hey, I want that channel taken down, or I don't want anybody watching that channel, or I'm going to block anybody if they are following that channel. Because I follow a lot of people that I don't agree with. And I follow a lot of people that if they saw that I follow them, they would be pretty angry. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that I want to know what they say. Because here's the other thing. You may think that there's going to be nothing somebody says that you might agree with. Like, let's say you despise the critical drinker. You despise Will Jordan. And before anybody gets on me about saying his real name, he does express his real name on several places. I would never do that to anybody either. If they want to keep their real name private or something like that, I'm going to respect that. I'm not going to go and try to dox somebody. That should be far from what anybody wants to do. And if people want to keep their real name private, then you should respect their privacy. You should respect that, because who knows what's on the other end? Who knows who is listening, wanting to take advantage of knowing those type of things. There might be a reason they want to keep their real name private or their private life private. You could be fans with somebody. You don't necessarily have to like the person, but leave their family and their private life alone, unless they're putting it all out there for anybody to see. In the case of Will Jordan, he's putting his real name out there willingly, so I hope that that is appropriate there. But as far as, hey, he's just a grifter or whatever, you may think that. You may believe that. I don't know if I agree with it. Everybody has their own opinions, and views can be subjective, and I do commend him for allowing people to disagree with him about certain movies, more than what I can say about some people that are on YouTube right now. But as much as you may hate him and whatnot, and I'm not defending him or whatever, but many people remember a article from Clickhole saying the worst person you know just made a great point. And yeah, I do understand that some people do try to say that, yeah, they agree with him on this or that, but the majority of the things that he says, they disagree with. And you know what? That's okay. You don't have to agree with most of what anybody says, but they always have the right to say it. CD has the right to say what he thinks. And the only thing you have to do, if you disagree with the majority of what he says, or you have a problem with what he says, is to turn off his channel. But don't take away the right of anybody else who does enjoy his content to watch his content. They can watch what they want, and your audience can watch you, and they can partake in your content, but they are not restricted from also viewing that other person's content that you don't like. And you don't have the right to tell them that they're not allowed to. Just as much as I don't have the right to say, hey, you shouldn't partake in the content of those people who I might not necessarily enjoy. I can't stop you from watching those people. I can't stop you from partaking in that content. I say, hey, Nintendo's done this or that, but I can't stop you from buying the Switch 2 if you want it. I've said that, hey, I might buy one anyway because my old Switch is dying. What am I going to do to stop you? What am I going to do to stop you from watching those people who I might not necessarily enjoy? What right do I have to tell you you're not allowed to? I'm not going to ban you if you watch somebody's channel who I've called out, because I don't want that person to go away from YouTube. I want that person person to know, hey, you didn't really say something that you should have said. And yeah, you should be held accountable for what you've said, but that doesn't mean that a person who is in my audience is disallowed from partaking in your content. I mean, I'm the guy who is going to defend Metroid Other M to the death. If I'm willing to do that and put my neck on the line for that game, and I still will defend that game, I still think it gets more hate than it has any right to get. If I'm willing to do that, then I'm willing to be in the minority for a lot of things. I'm willing to put my neck out there for a good bit of things. Now, I might have my anxiety and my fearful nature of some things to actually put out something because I don't know what the reaction is going to be, but I'm not going to tell you should not watch that person or this person. Now, I'm not going to celebrate if someone decides to take a break from YouTube, because we all at some point get burnout and we all feel the pinch. And yes, YouTube needs to address this. They need to address the possibility of people getting shadow banned, address this thing where you get pigeonholed into a particular type of content and you can't get out of it because YouTube won't let you, because the algorithm is so warped at this point that you have to do separate channels and you have to start from scratch every single time you start a new channel to get monetized. And even then, you don't know when YouTube's just going to hit a switch at one point. Yes, I get it. Yes, I understand the whole nature of YouTube. And then they attack Rumble for being quote-unquote right-wing, when where else are you going to go? Rumble is right now the best competition YouTube has right now. And you shouldn't attack that either, because competition is always a good thing. As far as Atreas is concerned, if he wants to take a break from YouTube, then he has every right to do that. Burnout, the fact that, hey, it's not getting the views that you thought you were going to get, and yet I can give him some advice as to what he should and shouldn't do. He can take it what it's worth. I'm not the expert in any sort of imagination, but if he feels like he needs to take a break, okay, let him take a break. Don't attack him for it. Yeah, you might not like the type of content he does, but you had the right to not watch that. You had the right to just move on without attacking him, just as you had just as much of a right to not attack anybody or to watch somebody who you did enjoy. You need to be more positive about this sort of thing right now. And this whole idea with attacking quote-unquote grifters on YouTube, this trend that's been going on, I don't understand it. I don't get it. That's why I try to stay out of this whole YouTube drama stuff. This whole thing with Asambi and H3H3, is that what it is? I don't understand what that's all about. I don't know why Asambi feels the need to do what he's doing, whatever it is, and I don't really want to talk about that. I want to be above that. There are a few people that I feel like I could call out, but I'm not going to, because I don't need a drama. But I felt like I needed to talk about this because I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for me to say that, to bring that up, to make people understand that that's not something I'm going to do if I can help it. Yeah, I can report on something if it's newsworthy enough to bring up. And yeah, if I feel like that I can contribute to the conversation, yeah, I might contribute to the conversation, but I'm not going to start stirring the pot. And yeah, I know I've done that before to a certain extent, but I don't want to do that anymore. I feel like I'm above that. I feel like I'm above the drama. I hope that he finds the piece that he needs in order to come back and become the content creator that he wants to be. If he wants to create that kind of content, then I can't stop him. Neither will I want to. If the Critical Drinker wants to share his viewpoint on what the quote-unquote message is and how he disagrees with that type of message and how it's presented, then he has every right to do that. He's doing something right. He's got so many viewers and subscribers. I wish I had those types of numbers. I wish I could have those. I'm not going to coattail him. Now, if something comes up that's newsworthy, that's making like more mainstream news, then okay, we'll talk about it. If I feel it's newsworthy, then yeah, we'll talk about it, we'll discuss it. I'll bring in my viewpoints about it. But I'm not going to start stirring stuff up. I'm not going to do that in a vacuum. That's not something I'm going to do. So no, I don't agree with what some people are doing here. Do I think that his viewpoints are to the standard that I would view? Not all the time. Not like I'm going to go out of my way, but that's just because I have so many things to do. I have so many things I'm doing. That doesn't necessarily mean that I dislike his content or I do like his content. It just means that I have so many people to watch. I have so many things that I'm watching. I have so many things I'm doing, and there's only so many minutes in the day. But I do hope that he gets the type of peace that he needs, and to not let anybody bring him down or be negative about things. And this might be a call for YouTube, get your act together. And yeah, I'm going to call them out, and they're a punch up. I've had to deal with you for quite a while. You know the stories, you know the issues. This is another thing where no one listens to anybody who's on the lower rung, or even the higher rung, actually. You have to fight to talk to a human being, and sometimes even that fails. This might be a further indication that maybe you shouldn't exactly shadow ban people and be a lot more transparent than you are. And if somebody is reporting you or flagging your videos, maybe let somebody know that somebody is taking issue with your content. And if you see a lot of people who are coming from one particular channel, one particular person, and they're all false flagging another person, maybe that's a sign you may want to investigate, because that should not happen either. And I know throughout history there have been people who have done that. I hope this reaches the right people, and I have rambled on for way too long, so I'm going to stop right here. Please like, share. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please be mindful of mental health, be kind to each other, and I will see you in the next one, to be continued.